changing the game. He's changing the game. I think, you know, he's shine light on the new wave of quarterbacks, and it's just fun to watch. And not only that, you know, he has a lot of merit to what he does. It's not like he's just back there, just an arcade game as sometimes it looks like it, but he knows exactly what he's doing and how he's manipulating the defense. And, you know, that's the same thing that the Dan Marinos used to do. Obviously the Tom Brady's, the Aaron Rodgers, you know, those guys really have so much command of the offense that, you know, you dictate to the defense. And, you know, that's what he's doing. He's playing the game at a high level.
So that's Cam Newton talking about his counterpart on Sunday, Patrick Mahomes. Earlier, Michael, you talked about LeBron's intentional comments. There was a lot of intentionality with Cam Newton's compliments toward Patrick Mahomes. I was glad to see him highlight and emphasize the sophistication with which Patrick Mahomes plays the position. I mean, you know, he likened his command of the offense and his manipulation of the defense to Dan Marino, to, you know, to Tom Brady. Certainly, neither of whom possessed a fraction of the athleticism that Patrick Mahomes has. And so I think Cam Newton, especially, look, knowing from experience how much people can look at a quarterback who plays with a high level of athleticism and mobility and fail to recognize the damage that he does as a passer from the pocket, especially, let's call it what it is, especially black quarterbacks. You know, and so for Cam Newton to I appreciated how subtle but nonetheless significant it was for him to say, look, it's not all just fun and games. He's making it look easy, but he's really using his mind as much as he is using his physical gifts. And the changing the game part, I think, is also fascinating, Michael, because, you know, my son is outside. I can look at him right now in our driveway. My son got a mean step back jumper. You know, which he obviously picked up from.
Where'd he get that from? Where'd he get
Not from me. He got it from watching James Harden. And like a lot of kids, you know, of this generation, this younger generation, they've been inspired by Steph Curry. You know, they all want to be Steph. They all want to get out there and shoot threes and you know, shoot pull-up threes or step backs like James Harden. I think what Patrick Mahomes is doing, especially when you factor in the mental game that Cam Newton is talking about. What Patrick Mahomes is doing is making it even cooler, if it's possible, to not just play quarterback, but to bring a flair to the position that was often frowned upon. That flair and that freewheeling approach to the position was often frowned upon because it was like, oh, you know, you got to stay within the system. It's got to be 1, 2, 3 back foot, let it go. You got to go through your progressions a certain way. What Mahomes is doing is saying, and I think you'll see a lot of people emulate it coming up. They may not have his arm strength. They may not be able to do what he does. He's naturally gifted. But when you combine fundamentals with, you know, his style, I think you'll see a lot of people playing the position in a way that back in the day would be considered, I don't know, out of control or reckless. I think he is very much changing the game.
Yeah. I'm not sure he's changing the game. I think the game has. How about this? He's not changing the game. I think the game has changed, and that they have come around. That these team builders, general managers, and coaches have come around and accepted that there are many ways to quarterback a football team. So I mean, think about black. You mentioned it earlier. Think about the black quarterbacks we've seen since 2000. We've just seen so many different styles, you know. So Michael Vick is one style. Michael Vick, Donovan McNabb is another style. Even like some of the black backups or black journeyman quarterbacks like Aaron Brooks and Jeff Blake, you know, those guys. The late Steve McNair, that's one style, kind of like bully ball there, like a bowling ball back there in the pocket. An MVP in his own right in 2003. Cam Newton is one style. And then there have been black pocket quarterbacks. So the black quarterback there's diversity in that. It's not just, oh, you're black and you play quarterback, that must mean you're a runner and not a passer. No.
Right.
I mean, we've just seen that thing just totally explode. Even now in the game, like Lamar Jackson it's not like Deshaun Watson. They're not similar. You know, Pat Mahomes, it's not like Kyler Murray. I mean, it's a completely different view of these quarterbacks. So I don't see anything from Pat Mahomes that I haven't seen before. I just like that he's in this moment, this opportunity.
That's
Quarterback who can. You have? You see something you haven't seen before?
Nobody's done it like this. Like this.
Define
I'm saying
this.
I'm saying the only other guy is Aaron Rodgers for me. I told you before, I think Aaron Rodgers is the best performer at the position that I've ever seen. Give me Steve Young's peak in terms of execution, in terms of precision. Okay, Brady's the GOAT. Give me Steve Young's peak in the early to mid 90s before he got hurt. But in terms of just playing the position, to make all the throws, to improvise, to read defenses, it's been Aaron Rodgers for me is the best I've ever seen do it. I think Patrick Mahomes, when you combine, again, his creativity, that's what we were talking about the other day when I said he was the contra code. Combine his creativity with his arm strength, with his mind. I think Patrick Mahomes, you know, arm strength, arm talent, as they say, to be able to throw from different angles. Patrick Mahomes can get as much velocity, you know, with his feet set overhand as he can no-look sidearm. I mean, the stuff that he's able to do with the football, it's hard for me to remember somebody doing it quite like that with the efficiency. There are people like, you know, Elway. Look, John Elway. I mean, you were talking about robo quarterback.
Wow, that's what when you were saying.
John Elway.
When you were talking about that, I thought Elway, but
John Elway is robo quarterback in the lab. And maybe this is where I bring in your point just now about the way the game has changed, because Elway never did it with this kind of efficiency that Mahomes is doing it. Maybe that's more of a function of the way the game is played right now, as opposed to the way it was played in the 80s and 90s with John Elway. But if you're talking about physically a quarterback, it looks like John Elway. So when I say he's changing the game, I'm talking about when I see a guy. Look, it ain't for everybody. You know how you say, hey, kids, don't try this at home? It ain't for everybody. I see a guy throwing underhand and sidearm and no look, you know, and fake jump passing it. I do see somebody who's introducing, again, style with substance that typically the NFL, and you're right, maybe they're just catching up to it, typically has frowned upon when it comes to coaches wanting a position to be played with a certain discipline, with a certain level of control and precision.
When do you think that changed?
He's literally fun to watch.
When do you think that changed?
And I'm not just talking about black and white, Michael. By the way, not just black and white. Not just black and white. Traditionally, even white quarterbacks who are scramblers, hey, you got to be able to play from the pocket.
Josh Allen, for example.
He's extended the pocket from sideline to sideline, Josh Allen has.
But what I'm saying is, when do you think that changed where coaches and general managers, it starts with the general manager, because a lot of guys, well, I guess it's hand in hand. A lot of general managers say, I can't bring this guy to my coach, and the coach says, hey, don't bring me a player. Don't bring me a player like that. Don't bring me that. Don't ask me to coach that. But I would say, hadn't that changed in the last, what do you say, 10 years?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
maybe more. It depends on who you ask. Because, I mean, it wasn't that long ago when a Hall of Fame general manager, and I hate to just, you know, take one guy. But Bill Polian was like, hey, put him at receiver, talking about Lamar Jackson.
Dude, do not get me started on Bill Polian. Don't get me started. Like, it's Friday. Don't have me go in on Bill Polian today. But he said it, and he got shouted down. Who agreed with him?
Very few people who publicly, but there are people who probably behind closed doors maybe thought the same thing. I mean, Lamar Jackson ain't the first quarterback that they suggested, hey, maybe you should take reps at receiver at the combine. You know what I mean? So I guess what I'm saying is I don't know that it's been that recent that the attitudes have changed. Again, not a black-white thing. I'm strictly talking about the nature of the position and how the position is played. Right. Remember the read option, they thought the read option was a fad. That Cam Newton comes in and is like, oh no, this is we're doing this. You know, this is here to stay. And so I just don't know that it's changed. And I'm not trying to give all the credit in the world for Patrick Mahomes,
No, but
for,
it takes a certain
revolutionizing attitudes. But yeah.
I was thinking about this earlier today, and not in a football context, just in general. It takes a certain kind of a personality to say, why not? Why not? Let's give it a try and see if it happens. And in general, those who have those personalities, in the NFL, the higher they climb, the more they repress that spontaneous, that original thinking, okay, let's go for it type of mindset. They tend to blend in and say, this won't work. I mean, as recently as a couple of years ago, I remember the former coach, I think it was, I think he did say, I think it was Marvin Lewis, when his team lost to Baltimore and Lamar Jackson ran for many, many yards. And he said, well, he can't do that all year. He can't. Okay, Lamar Jackson, last year he carried the ball like 12 times a game. Gave you about 1,200 yards, 1,100, 1,200 yards.
Correct.
Yeah, well, maybe you didn't think other quarterbacks could do that, but he did it. Cam Newton, you're not going to be able to run like that and run over people because you're not going to last. Well, he's in his 9th year in the league, and he's been injured, not from running, but from other injuries, but he still runs and runs over people. Patrick Mahomes, you can't do it. Yes, you can. So maybe these personalities are these stubborn NFL personalities are starting to be pushed aside a little bit, and people are looking at it saying, yes, you can do the RPO with the NFL. Yes, you can have a quarterback who runs and passes. Give it a shot.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.